And welcome to the Daily Autism Radio Show. This is our weekly radio version of dailyautism.com, where you can log on and learn all about our family, our crazy little family. It's Mark and Melissa. We have 5 kids. Our youngest, Cal, was diagnosed with autism coming up on 4 years ago. He is going to turn 7 soon. Hard to believe, hard to think about.
Yeah, but it feels like he was just born, and it also feels like he's been here forever.
Yeah,
it's been quite the journey.
It's funny. People will say all the time, they're like, oh, you know, we're way behind you guys with the whole autism journey and, you know, being an autism parent. I'm like, well, depends on which day you ask us. Because some days it's like it's your first day. And other days you feel like you've been doing it like it's all you know.
There's so much to learn. We are definitely at the summer of regression, the worst it's ever been, which is devastating for me as a mom. And it's hard not to get down, but you just have to keep going. What's
interesting is this is all stuff they tell you. Like, you know, you're going to hit these moments where, oh my gosh, the functioning, the development, we're doing so good. It's 5 steps forward, 10 steps forward, 35 steps forward. And then all of a sudden you're like, are we back at square one?
You are much more prepared for it. I don't know why it just hits me like a ton of bricks. It hits me so hard that I almost had a heart attack early this morning.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
I'm like, what doesn't kill me makes me stronger. Like, it has to, right? Like, I have to keep getting stronger because otherwise I feel like I'm going to die.
Well, it's the kind of thing, too, where you can't, the words are one thing, but when you live it, then I think you understand it, right? When somebody's telling you something, it's like, okay, thank you for telling me. And then you go through it and you're like, oh, it's nothing like I thought. And that could be better. It could be worse, whatever. It's just, you know, real experiences are just, there's nothing like it. There's nothing like a real experience. Somebody can talk to you about working out and doing all this hard work and going to the gym. That's not going to change you.
Right.
You got to actually go and do it. And so I think this is kind of the same. But yes, you are probably more like most parents than me, where you will see these great steps forward, this great progress. You know, the next thing you know, like, you're getting this great feedback from therapists, from people at school, neighbors, friends, family. You know how it is, like, when you log onto Facebook and we'll have like a family friend, like, oh, I saw Cal's latest video. It's unbelievable. I never thought he'd do something like that. And then that kind of gets in your mind. You're like, wow, now other people are seeing it. And then you hit some, you know, a devastating, let's just say, week, you know, or a few weeks. And you're like, those people are only there for the good times. You know, because they're not going to write you and say, I'm so sorry that this is, you know, that you're having a tough spot, or, yeah, it looks like he's definitely regressed here, or looks like this summer's been really hard. And so it's like anything else. I think nobody does this on purpose, but it's, you just seem like, oh, people only reach out when it's good, whatever, you know, and then I'm going through the hard times and you kind of feel like you're alone a little bit.
Well, I don't think they know what to say.
Right.
You know,
it's a lot easier to say something good than to try to say the other stuff.
Yeah. And so Cal has self-injuring behavior. Like, he head bangs, which he has a helmet for to protect him. And he also bites himself, which he does when he's excited or when he's upset. Those have not really increased. They've stayed about the same. But behaviors such as, like, hitting others, you know, saying bad words, biting others, and now potty training going backwards.
Yeah. We were trying to really get... Our goal this summer was to really, like, you know, make some movement with potty training. And you know, we know he wouldn't be potty trained, but at least getting comfortable with, you know, saying he had to go to the potty, going to the bathroom, like into the bathroom itself, comfortable with the toilets, just, you know, all the stuff that, you know, you do when you're like 2. We were trying to get there, and that's, you know, maybe that's next summer. I mean, it's fine because I have probably like a more longer worldview than you on this stuff. Like, I'm really good if you know, Cal living with us the rest of his life, because I want to protect him and everything. And I catch stuff from people for that, like, you know, don't say that and this and that. And it's like, oh, but I'm good with getting him to where he needs to go and still be having the responsibility to watch him and protect him. I'm really good with that. And if that's what it is, then that's what it is. And I'm really good with it. So I'm kind of less, you know, hitting these benchmarks. I mean, we're so far behind on all these benchmarks. I'm just like, I don't want to cause him or you or the other kids like a sense of defeat if we don't just keep going forward, keep going forward, keep going forward. You know what I mean?
I know.
Like, you can't look at this as an athlete training for a sport or trying to make a team or get to the playoffs or the championship, because if you do, I just don't, that's going to be a wild ride.
You also have to try really hard not to be sad.
Yeah.
Like when there's milestones that like you're hitting it and then it's going way backwards. Like you said, 1 step forward, 10 steps back. 2 steps forward, 35 steps back. I'm like, holy crap. Like, I didn't know this was going to happen.
The mainstream world teaches you, what do they always say? 3 steps forward, 2 steps back. I'm like, oh, give me a break. We don't ever do 3 or 2 of anything.
I know.
It's always fast forward or fast backwards. There's no like, solid continual pattern like 3, 2, 2, 1, 1, 1. I mean, it just doesn't work like that in this. And, it's just stuff you got to get used to, stuff you learn, and it makes you patient. I will say this to parents, and so much of our audience are the new parents. It's funny because I kind of think we're the new parents, but I see like 25-year-olds on Instagram and, like a 24-year-old mom on TikTok or LinkedIn. It's like, I'm just new to this. And I'm like, oh my God, like, you are new to this. Like, look at you. Like, you're a kid.
Yeah,
and
you're a baby having a baby,
right,
and then you're introduced to autism.
That's what I'm saying, and I'm just like, you just have to like so much of our new audience is the age group, right? And I feel like, yeah, like you got to help them understand, or at least give the blueprint of what you went through. It won't always be the same. That's the other challenging part of autism is the saying, if you met one kid with autism, you have one kid with autism. And so you just don't know. The situations are so different. But my goodness, I mean, it's a lot. There was a woman this morning, and I don't know if it was Instagram or TikTok, but she got diagnosed with stress. I'm going to mess this up a little bit, but stress-related heart failure. Basically, the doctor was like, your stress is killing your heart slowly, and you've got to figure out, and she's, has a young autistic child, and she was just like, I can't do this anymore. Like, I am exhausted. I am worried to death every second of the day. And it was in response to a video. I went down to a government meeting and spoke in front of the government chambers and stuff, and just talked about safety and resources and everything like that. It was interesting. I got a lot of feedback on that, and a lot of parents said they were emotional watching that. And it was because of hearing the stats of all the stuff the parents go through. The financial, super financial challenges, the divorce rate, the stress, losing jobs, losing employment, losing friends. So many people, right? Why doesn't my family, my own mom, and my sisters and brothers nobody understands. I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot.
I saw somebody write on that same post about like he has anxiety, like he's all of a sudden has anxiety.
Yeah.
And it's affecting his job and his marriage. And
yeah, there was, I mean, I don't know, there's thousands of comments on that TikTok, and I put it on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram too. But it's really one of those things where, I mean, if you're getting, if you're challenged with this at 24, 25, 26, 30, and your life all of a sudden is going to look so much different than your friends who are 25, 26, 30. You know what I mean? Like, it's
very different.
And we had to go through that, and we're still going through it. And our social life is so different. Everything's different. The goals we have for our other kids, ourselves, it's all different. Everything is just different. And it's hard because some days you wake up and you go, this is not what I envisioned. Right?
Not at all.
And and I know that comes off as like a little shallow and selfish, but if that's how you get up and feel one morning, that's all right. You just got to let that wash over you, and then it gets back into tune, and you do what you got to do. But I think your episode last night of just your heart racing and everything, like you mentioned, he's just taking some steps back. He's dealing with the potty mouth, the anger. He seemed open to going into the bathroom and understanding what you do in the bathroom. And now it's just like, oh, well, now I think I can just do that everywhere. It just doesn't have to be the bathroom. I can do it everywhere, right? We're in the house.
Well, even the pica. Pica is like when you put non-edible things in your mouth, or edible things, and he just stuffs his mouth. Mouth
stuffing is
like that has gotten out of control.
It's so out of control that now I want 3 sets of eyes on him when he's eating. It's just, and the stress everybody takes. I mean, I can't even tell. My blood turns to ice.
Yeah, when he's eating, you get really bad
Oh,
anxiety.
it's awful. I mean, it's just when I see the last bite off his plate, I am so thankful. I am like, seriously, I am like, thank you God for a successful meal. I'm serious. I say that because it is a lot. You know, it is, and he doesn't sit down and like eat dinner. Like dinner is just a part of what he's doing while he's doing other things. So these meals last a long time.
Yeah.
You know, and it's a lot.
It's been so bad with the choking, like thinking about choking, that you were out of the country last week and I had to get our dechoker out in a place where I can grab it just in case, because there wasn't 2 adults in the house and I was just too worried.
And this is why I say, you know, I want to give special needs parents credit. I want them to take credit. I was talking with someone the other day, I forget who, and I said, you know, if I was running a huge company or something, I would look to hire special needs parents because the amount of backup plans and thought and strategies that go into every second of your day, like you have no idea. You have no idea the tactical, the emotional, mental, tactical skills you have to get through lunch. I'm not talking about the week or the month or the business quarter or your investment round. I'm talking about lunch. It's crazy and it's exhausting, and you can see it on all of our faces. But gosh, nobody has those skills sharper than special needs parents. Nobody.
Yeah.
I mean,
it completely changes you as a person.
It is.
And you do get stronger and smarter and all of that, but at the same time, you're beat down.
I went back to, you know, and I tell people sometimes, I went back to college. I wanted to finish my degree, but I also realized that, you know, to make a difference, I had to learn some things, make some connections with public policy and politics and everything. I was such a great student in my 40s as opposed to when I quit college in my 20s. It wasn't even close. And a lot of it was because I understood the time I had to get this done, and I had no choice but to get it done because I knew what I was up against after the time. You know, juggling the therapy schedules and meltdowns and you're running your business back and forth and this. I mean, it's like I was such a great student, like because I was so open to like everything, and I realized all the strategies I had to take. You know, and you're doing that now, and I think you're probably shocking yourself at how much you're learning and doing and kind of accepting new knowledge, you know?
Yeah, you did amazing. You really did. So I applaud you for that. But I decided to go back to school because I really was inspired by you and our life changed. Like I have been doing hair for over 20 years, but I need to be home. Like I need to be home, and it's hard for me to like juggle my schedule to get out of the house. And I didn't know that I could do school. Like my brain hasn't worked like that in over 20 years.
Yeah.
So I am impressed with myself, to be honest.
That's the thing I think that a lot of special needs parents fall short is actually, and it's the, you know, I sound like an old man saying it, right? The old pat on the back, but it is like your brain will insulate and kind of act what you tell yourself. It's so true. Like if it just will. And I try to tell our kids that, and the other players on their team, like when I'm coaching them, you know, if you've done something great, you can do it again. You've already done it. Tell yourself you've already done it. Catching a touchdown, hitting a home run, making a great play, whatever it is. And so when it comes back to special needs parenting, like you have to say, like I'm shocking myself at going back to college. I'm doing awesome. Like
yeah, you do.
I am, like you have to keep telling yourself that, because then their brain's like, okay, it'll focus on that then. Yes, let's keep surprising ourselves. Let's keep going. It's as advanced as our brains are and everything like that. It's so simple. You know, it's almost like I told someone the other day, it's like training a dog. You know, I mean, the dog can understand at a young age what you tell it, that will do. Like
right.
and we're really no different. If you keep telling your brain that you're doing great, you're excelling, you're open to new things, you're curious, you're trying things, and all of a sudden it just operates that way. It's really weird.
Yeah.
You know, we all want to complicate things, right? Like people want to buy 600-page books. I'm like, you don't need to buy a 600-page book. You need to buy a 6-page book. That's about all you need. And then that's going to get your brain going. So,
well, you have to like keep evolving and keep growing. I mean, there is so much to learn with autism, you know, and being a special needs parent.
Yeah.
Like I never imagined it would be this hard, to be honest.
And well, what's interesting is we all think the day of the diagnosis is the hardest day because it's hard news. Right. Yes, that's the day, you know, that's the day you have the clarity, but that's the easiest day.
Oh my gosh.
Bad news for people. That's the, that's the easiest day.
And you feel like, oh, they want me to do all this therapy. How can I do this? You can do it. And things are going to get way harder.
You look back at this, and again, for the younger audience, and we just, unfortunately, we get so many new people every week because of the rates of these diagnoses, and diagnoses are going up. But the reality is every day you think you've had the hardest day, you don't. That's not it. I'm sorry. Like, I'll tell you right now, I don't know what our hardest day is because we haven't had it yet. And we've had some tough stuff.
Yes, we have.
Yeah, we've had some tough stuff. But this is a lot about just digging deep. I wish there was like a website I could tell you to go to and everything will be fine. Or a book that'll solve all your problems. No, there's some great websites. There's some amazing books. I've read them. At the end of the day, this is, you wake up with you and you open up your two eyes, and at night you go to bed with you and you close your two eyes. And that's where you're going to find all of this stuff, like the answers and the good and the bad and the solutions and the failures. It's all it's hard, man. It's hard.
It's really hard.
Yeah. Real quick, I want to, because we've got Madeline Lauf coming up. She's going to join us. She's the CEO of Begin Health. They have the Growing Up PREbiotics. And as much as this episode has been about regret, I mean, we just have to tell the truth and what's going on. So many families are going through this. But I got to tell you, there's some great things out there. There's great people out there. Madeline founded Begin Health. These are prebiotics, not probiotics. We're going to get into it with her, the episode and the interview, the value of these prebiotics for these young ASD kids and their little guts and their little tummies. And I got to tell you, the research that's being done, that we have to help their guts and tummies. And when we got the prebiotics, I mean, you and I were like rolling our eyes. There's no way he's going to taste it. He's going to feel it. To this day, he has no idea he's getting prebiotics. It's really incredible.
It's flavorless and it dissolves really good.
Instantly.
Yep.
I mean, it's like everything we give him, he kind of looks at us, everything. And he's kind of like, what are you giving me? And then he'll stare. He'll put things right up to his eyes. He hasn't detected this. So he's actually here with his therapist, so I need to be kind of quiet when we talk about this stuff. But we'll talk with Madeline. She's built a really cool company. And dailyautism.com, if you want to hit the Begin Health button there, grab a discount on our prebiotics. And she's going to tell you all about, what prebiotics are, what they do. But I can just tell you what they've done for Cal. They settled his gut. And do the research. There's so much, and it's incredible what's been coming out about the guts, the microbiome, and what a huge, huge factor prebiotics play into that. So we'll get to Madeline in just about 10 minutes here across all of our radio stations and our podcast platforms as well. Real quick, thank you to Ling Huang. He is the CEO of Technology North, doing incredible things inspired by his son, Brian. I saw a great interview with Ling and Brian a couple of weeks ago. They were accepting an award. They're a Canada-based company, but it was so awesome to see Ling, Brian, the rest of his company, speaking and just really proud of Technology North. Their documentary on YouTube is called Cliff 20. It's free. It's about 25 minutes, and you'll get a great idea, great perspective about what they do, what they're doing. And I can just tell you, Ling is making a huge impact for the future, really just getting started. But that's technologynorth.net. Also, our friends at the Lift Academy in Clearwater, Florida, brand new campus. Last year was their inaugural year, so they're getting ready to get fired up against crazy that summer's half over.
I know. I'm kind of ready for it to be back, though.
Well, yeah, it's been a rough one for us. But Lift Academy, they do great work there. Over 95% of their students are on a scholarship. They can help you through that entire process. liftfl.org. I highly recommend you look into Lift Academy in Clearwater. And our friends at the original Krabby Bills on Indian Rocks Beach, Florida. This is our beach bar that when we're there, we pretend we're somewhere in the Caribbean, lost at sea. We have no problems. Today sounds like a nice day.
Every time you say it, I want to go.
Let's get lost at sea at Krabby Bills, but they are great autism awareness supporters, great just members and businesses of the community, a great happy hour, live music every day. Like I said, you just feel like you're somewhere else in a tropical location. And as I'm talking, I feel like I'm levitating towards there right now. I feel like I'm in the car driving there. But thank you, the original Krabby Bills, Indian Rocks Beach, Florida. Also, Angel Sense. This is the GPS tracking device They've incorporated AI, artificial intelligence. So many kids have eloped this summer, have gotten lost. I don't have to tell you the endings on most of these are tragic. Right now, the Angel Sense device is free for back to school. Like we said, the summer just blazing by. I want you to go to angelsense.com and see what this device does. They do have some funding initiatives, but the device right now is free with a subscription. So many of these news stories, I just want you to ask yourself, after you look at the device, the service, would these stories have ended differently with an Angel Sense? And I'm not steering you one way or another. I'm just going to tell you, I'll admit we have one. We use it. We love it. But go find out for yourself. Angelsense.com. Again, free for back to school. Angelsense.com. All right. So like I said, Madeline Lauf on the way, CEO, Begin Health, PREbiotics. And we're going to link up all the details between, guts in general, but then the sensitivity of the ASD guts and how that affects behaviors and sleeping and so many other things coming up in about 5 minutes. It's interesting you say, I'm ready for back to school. And I was thinking about this the other day. Right now is about the time, because when we make these changes in schedule, so hard for these kids. Winter break with the holidays, so hard. Spring break, so hard. Summer break, so hard. So here we are now, and mid-July, and Cal's now just pretty much has not asked about going anywhere, like his school program or stuff like that.
Right.
And in about 20 days or so, I just got an email yesterday, the back to school orientation.
I know.
Like, you've got to be kidding me. And so just now, we're going to get another, 20, 30 days or so in this, and then we're going to flip it again. And then the new routine starts. And then you can just bank on another 30 to 45 days of getting back into that. And then there's going to be the fall break. What it does to these kids and the behaviors, and I don't say behaviors like, they're bad. I mean behaviors of like emotionally, they become disoriented because they're very used to the routine, to the schedule. They know it better than we know it.
Well, that's when the regression started. Right when summer started, he started to have this regression, and it was because of schedule change. And then all of a sudden, you would expect it to get better, and it did maybe for like a week. And then now it's back to being bad. And like you said, then we're going to go to school and start it all over.
Yeah, and it's a scary thing. It's a very scary thing, because as the parents, because this stuff causes self-injuring behavior, eloping. So this is what I'm trying to tell people too. It's not necessarily the kid just is an eloper. It's something happens and they elope. So when they're in this period where they're confused, they're disoriented, they're scared, they're sad because there's been a massive change in their schedule, that's when these things happen. Yeah. That's when this eloping happens. I saw a woman on Instagram the other day, and she was reacting to my video talking at the government council, and she said, my son runs into traffic, and the reason why is because he loves the spinning of the wheels, the spinning on the car, the tires turning.
Oh, wow.
He loves it, and so he wants to run towards them. And you see a lot, like, we have some wall sensory boards, and they have the wheels on the bus, that turn.
Yeah, they do.
He loves it. He'll spin those wheels. And you just, I wish we understood why. I wish we could prevent it. I wish, and I know a lot of neurotypical parents with neurotypical kids, they go, what? They love the spinning of the wheels. They run towards the car. What do you mean? What do you mean? Listen, I wish I knew too, buddy. I'm just telling you the way it is, but this is, imagine driving to a parking lot and you got to get out of your car. It's like, I told someone the other day, like 90% of the time you leave the home with Cal, I got to escort you out. We need 4 legs and 4 arms to get him to the car safely. He can take off.
And even when he's buckled in, like if I had to run back inside and get something and the other kids are in the car with him, which they're completely old enough to stay in the car with him, I can't do that anymore. Because if he wants to climb out of his seat, he can.
Can, will, and is nearly impossible for one adult to help get him to a place to get him back in there. So it's like, I feel like I'm escorting you, like your bodyguard or his bodyguard, and it's just, I don't even say it anymore. I just get up and automatically do it because I'm like, we need to do this.
Well, I appreciate it.
Well, I know you do, but I'm just, I try to tell. So sometimes parents ask me, like, what's different? Like, tell me what's different. And sometimes it's that simple. Every time Cal leaves the house, both parents have to walk out with him. And some people go, oh, stop complaining. Well, I'm not complaining. You asked what was different. It's sometimes it's different. It's weird, right? It's
Well, he's 7. I mean, I could pick him up if I have to, but like, I just worry when he's 15.
yeah. Well,
So,
that's yeah. The older you get, you get stronger, you get faster, all the stuff. Okay, as we await to be joined by Madeline Lauf, the CEO of Begin Health and Growing Up PREbiotics. We're going to have a great conversation with her about prebiotics and ASD and the gut and everything like that. Real quick, I want to invite you to join our autism text platform for autism parents. It is autismtext.com. Really cool way to just connect without being dependent on social media algorithms. We've built a really cool tribe there. It continues to grow very fast, too. So autismtext.com. And again, to join up on our social media and link up on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, dailyautism.com is how you do that. All right. Excited here in the next week or two to be joined again by Dr. John Young. It is the Young Foundational Health Center in Largo, Florida. I absolutely love Dr. Young's Instagram videos. I already learned so much about autism and protein and iron, vitamin D. His Instagram videos are great. His commitment to research is awesome. So youngfoundationalhealth.com. And again, in just a few times that we've had a conversation and a few interviews, really have learned a lot and excited to talk more. But check out his Instagram page and his Instagram videos. And again, his commitment to research has been really remarkable. Youngfoundationalhealth.com. It is Dr. John Young. You can reach his office there on his website and learn all about what he's researching, his perspectives, and what he is sharing with the audience. Youngfoundationalhealth.com. And again, we'll be talking to Dr. John Young again very soon. Aeroflow Urology. Your child may qualify for free diapers through Aeroflow Urology. Just go to dailyautism.com and click the Aeroflow Urology button. We've talked about the challenges with potty training. We're going to talk about that more when Madeline joins us here in a couple of minutes, the CEO of Begin Health. But that can really take a burden off of you, especially with inflation, the price of diapers. These get delivered right to your door. This is really something that is really, really important. And before we join Madeline Lauf, CEO of Begin Health, I also want to thank the Fun Factory Sensory Gym. They were the mastermind behind my sensory studio. This is our sensory studio here in Pinellas County, Florida. Just an awesome place for a family to go and really get that sensory experience privately. It's very challenging, these big box gyms with so many people. So we wanted to build a space for a private sensory experience with a family, 1,000 square feet. You own it while you're there. But this was all designed by Fun Factory Sensory Gym. Look them up on YouTube. Their videos are absolutely incredible. Again, you can join us online, dailyautism.com, and link up to all of our content, whether it's TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, our LinkedIn newsletter, and the autism text line, which continues to grow. And you can sign up for that at autismtext.com. Get a lot of great information, research information, parent information at autismtext.com. That said, we're going to join Madeline Lauf. She is the CEO and founder of Begin Health, and we're going to discuss their Growing Up PREbiotics.
Thank you, Mark. Great to be here.
Yeah, it's like I said, I've been looking forward to this. You're fun, you're upbeat, you got energy, and I love this company that you started. And to be quite honest with you, I found Begin Health totally by mistake, which I think maybe in life, those are the best things, right? That we kind of stumble on things by mistake. I didn't know what prebiotics were. I thought people were always spelling it wrong. I thought they were trying to say probiotics and they were saying prebiotics. I'm like, what is that? So just kind of talk a little bit about, give a little thesis statement about prebiotics and Begin Health and how Madeline fell into all of this.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you again for having me. And I'm so excited. I always am ready to shout from the rooftops the power of gut healing and the gut microbiome. And that was all really, based on my own gut healing journey about 6 or 7 years ago now. I had very difficult digestive challenges. It was like everything under the sun. I was prescribed and put on, lifelong medication that was from a pharmaceutical. And it was like, really? It was off-label use. And it was like, is this really the best I can do for the rest of my life? And that was when I started trying to do my own investigative research to see what else is possible. I talked to my doctors and they were like, oh, well, I guess you could try some lifestyle interventions. I was like, all right, yeah, let's try that. And that was where I understood and learned the power of nutrition and being able to essentially heal our own gut. And that was where I learned about prebiotics. So everyone always talks about probiotics, and you see it, even over the last 10 years, probiotics have been incredibly popular. And everyone kind of knows what a probiotic is, which is the living bacteria. Essentially, even to this day now, people started learning about prebiotics, and prebiotics are actually non-living, and they are the food for the living probiotics. And so they really go hand in hand. So probiotics, the living bacteria, do live in our guts, and they're also in like kefir, fermented foods. So they do exist out in the world and we consume them, but they really already exist inside of us. And so now when we put prebiotics into our diets, we are actually feeding the living bacteria within us, which is actually natural to our environment.
So I was just getting into this with somebody on LinkedIn or Instagram, and they were like, "Hey, explain prebiotics," and I'm like, I'll do the best I can." But I was like, see if I did okay. I was like, they're kind of like the food for the probiotics. Like the prebiotics keep the probiotics happy and healthy.
Yes, correct. Exactly. So they're considered non-digestible fibers. So they make it through our digestive tract. And that's one of the challenges with when we do take probiotics in pill form or what have you, is that our environment, our digestive environment is actually very harsh, right? We have acids in our stomach. It's like there's this whole system. And so sometimes the living probiotics that we do take orally don't actually always even make it all the way to the colon. And so the beauty about prebiotics is they are the food, they are non-digestible fibers. They go through our system all the way to the place where they actually feed the bugs, which is the colon. And so that's very important because right now, that is one of the biggest challenges with gut microbiome, just like the challenge that we're facing here as a society is that we are not nourishing those important gut bugs that we depend on and that we have co-evolved with for as long as we've been here. And right now, we are not feeding them properly through our diet. And that is why it's so important that we do nourish them through our nutrition. And where we are unable to, that is where you can have some supplements. But I will tell you, Mark, I am the number one proponent. Get your food and your nutrients through food.
Again, we're with Madeline Lauf. She's the founder of Begin Health, and you can link to them through the dailyautism.com site. Hit the Begin Health button, or you can go to beginhealth.com. You can see it scrolling on the screen. Did you have any idea, Madeline? I mean, obviously, I built this platform up, the Daily Autism platform. My son, Cal, has special needs. I was not somebody very well equipped to handle that. Just saying what it is. I didn't know anything about it. The only experience I had with autism was the movie Rain Man, which was like back in the 1900s, and I just didn't know what I was doing. But did you have any idea about ASD kids and gut issues when you got into this?
Right when I got into it, no, I just knew that it was a massive challenge actually facing all of us. And when I started diving deeper into it, when we ultimately built Growing Up Prebiotics and starting to work with pediatric practitioners, pediatric gastroenterologists, nutrition therapists, etc., we started to learn a lot more about the stats that constipation, which was my primary challenge, and that I was able to heal through the gut, was actually even more prevalent among the ASD kids. And it's about 4 times more likely to experience constipation with ASD kids. And Mark, through your own experience, and I'd love to kind of learn more about that, is like, what were the interventions available for this community, right? And one of the challenges, for example, is sensory challenges or taste issues. And Begin Growing Up Prebiotics was built intentionally for kind of the pickier eaters, the ones who are really great at tasting everything that's inside something in their food or drinks. And actually, that was the what was so great about the growing up prebiotics is that they were tasteless and textureless. So it was able to serve a wider community.
I will put my hand on a Bible and tell everybody, and I've done a bunch of TikTok videos about this. Cal, like, he is the ultimate investigator. He's the ultimate detective, right?
Yes.
Nothing fools him. I'm telling you right now, we
Yes.
fooled him, and in a great way. Like, I got to tell you, he examines everything. And when you talk about, odorless tastes and everything, he chugs these
Yeah.
prebiotics, and it makes me feel just so good. Let me back it up just a little bit. Like, one day we were home and he kind of keeled over, and he was, it almost was like a seizure, right? Like, I've never seen him do anything like this. Had to call 911 because I didn't know what was going on. We get him to the hospital and they do these scans, and they're like, his gut is so backed up. The
Mhm.
emergency room doctor was like, think of just concrete blocks. He never showed any signs, or anything. And another problem, obviously, an issue with the ASD community, the kids, is they can't explain it to you. They have a hard time articulating what's going on, which is heartbreaking because they're in this pain. And one of the doctors says, oh, yeah, you can, there's this over the counter, this and that. I did some research, no way. And somebody else goes, you need to look at prebiotics. And I said, do you mean probiotics? No,
Yeah.
prebiotic. That's how I found Begin Health. It's I've documented it over the last 6 months or so. How great he feels. He sometimes will rub his tummy, Madeline, and go, my tummy feels so good. I mean,
Oh, good.
like, that's incredible to me, because I don't know what he was going through before. But the other thing I wanted to say, because a big challenge is the potty training with
Right.
these kids. It's been a massive issue with Cal. But since the prebiotics, what we've noticed is that with the pain and kind of the anxiety of that feeling, his gut is gone. He's been much more patient, much more calm to sit down and kind of go through the potty training motions and the directives and stuff like that. So that is something that nobody told me was going to happen. I didn't suspect it was going to happen. Hadn't seen it in any research. But it sort of makes sense, right? If you're doing something and it's more comfortable, less painful, you're probably more apt to do it and you feel better about doing it.
Absolutely. And, I want to touch on that where, specifically constipation and irregularity and even withholding is one of those things that there are different mile markers around the child development that you start to experience this constipation or withholding and or irregularity. And a lot of times parents don't always even realize it because they may even be having a daily bowel movement, and so it's like, oh, they're, of course they're going just fine. What they are not maybe aware of is that the kid is still carrying a large fecal load, which means that even though they are going, they're still holding on to more stool, and that whole stool is not completely evacuating. And so that is why it's so important. Like, when you went to the hospital or doctor and you're like, whoa, like you probably even didn't realize, like, because you hadn't really seen the signs, right? And so I think that's one of the challenges when you start to look at constipation. It happens at a different various stages. One is starting solids. That is one of the areas when the gut microbiome starts making those shifts because it's being introduced to new foods. Then it's off of when they're transitioning away from either breast milk or formula. Another transition point is exactly what you're talking about right now, which is the potty training. And then ultimately when they do go to school. So those are kind of like the four main places. And kind of zooming in on potty training specifically is like, you absolutely nailed it, right? Like, these kids are smart. They know if there's pain associated with something, guess what? They know that that's not the thing that they're going to continue to do. And so that is why it's even more important to find nutritional interventions that improve the soft and comfort of the stool so that, to your point, they're able to go without, discomfort, and that makes them more prone to regularity.
What are some of the things that you hear from, parents? I mean, I'm so interested in, I'm a
Yeah,
big believer in the audience, and let the audience
sure.
decide. Yeah. What are some of those things?
This is the most rewarding part of this job, right? Sometimes, as being a founder of a company, it's like you go through so many hard things sometimes, but truly the stories and life-changing stories that we hear are what make myself and our entire team just get so excited to continue to dive in and find more innovations. And I think, the stories that we hear a lot are, my son is 7 and he's been on a laxative since he was 1. And we are now able to start to transition away from long-term laxative use. Those are some of the stories we hear. We just hear the stories of, crying happy tears because for the last year it's been a huge burden on the family, just this whole challenge of unhappiness and discomfort and crying at potty time, and now there's no longer that crying and that sad times. And so it's like relief, right? And so to be able to hear these stories of actual before and after is really what makes me excited about Begin Health and what our prospects are and what we want to lean into as a company with our roadmap, right? We want to drive health outcomes in kids. That is what our focus is. And so how can we continue to kind of lean in, find challenges, but also solutions and relief that are nutrition based and that are healthful and address the root cause of the challenges? And I think that's the most important thing that I want to share with this audience, is that our bodies want to heal. And whatever it is that our body might be presenting, whether it be eczema, maybe some behavioral, maybe some constipation, whatever it is that our bodies are going through, there has to be you want to address that from a root cause perspective.
It's interesting. I was getting messages the other day from a mom, and she had noticed that she had her son on an over the counter. It rhymes with Liramax, and had noticed some really negative behaviors, and even she was actually talking about the eyes and the skin, like things just didn't look right, didn't look very good. And I told her, I said, please research, having your children on these drugs for years and years. And does it amaze you? It amazes me how doctors will just sign off on this. And
Yeah.
when you have somebody like you who's done all of this research, you had a personal connection, and which I love, because I mean,
Yeah.
building a great company is building a company, but when you have somebody behind the company that is like an anchor for a very personal, a health reason. But does it amaze you in 2024 that
Yeah.
that's something that parents are just being told, yeah, it's okay, it's no problem?
Yeah, I think, look, this is the deal, is that when you're a doctor, it's like you need to, what's it called? You have to have a standard of care. And to this day, maybe because it hasn't been researched enough or what have you, but they have decided that the standard of care is a laxative. And you know what? I'm going to be the first person to say that there's a place and time for it, but it is meant to be just like, this, like, it's a very serious situation, right? It's like you just need to get it out. It is not meant for long-term use. By the way, the FDA has not cleared laxatives for longer than 7 days, even in the adult population. So even as adults, we should not be doing long-term use on this stuff. And then not only that, but when we talk about kids, the FDA does not even approve of this product for kids under the age of 17. And so to your point, is absolutely mind-boggling that this has become the standard of care with clinicians and pediatricians and what have you. And I think that is what makes this all the more either devastating, but also a great opportunity for Begin Health, because there was a need to address this in a more healthful way. And that is what we are so excited to do and to build at Begin Health, is interventions that there may not have been an intervention before.
Yeah, love that you're solving a real problem, and then especially with children, and then obviously in our audience, special needs kids. It's called special needs for a reason. And I will say this too: while a lot of our audience is watching and or listening across our podcast platform or our radio stations, there has been an unbelievable amount of research just in the last week. I mean, I get pummeled with this stuff about gut health and ASD behaviors,
Yes.
other health. I mean, a lot of I was going to show about. I mean, it's really starting to be so obvious now that the gut and the ASD issues are connected. So
Yes.
much that now you're seeing research studies now abandoning some of the older school, dealing with some of the brain and things like that. They're really focused on the gut. And I think you just make a great point, Madeline, about our standard of care has to be updated. It has to be modernized, I guess, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Um,
Oh, go ahead. Sorry. I was
well,
going to say just like, and we need to lean into like food is medicine, right? I am a big believer of that. And really, as families, we need to be auditing. Like, we have to be so strict, and it's hard. It is so hard, right? Like, the world makes it hard, but we have to audit what is going into our bodies. What are we feeding our families? And where we can make those substitutions, we have to. If there's something that has, a long list of ingredients versus something that's more whole food based, like make those choices, because overall, that will be helpful for our overall health.
Yeah, something else I wanted to mention too that I noticed with Cal, and we were really surprised by this as well, is that he was more open to trying new food. These kids have a very specific diet, right? Like I always said, if I write a book, I'm going to call it Funyuns for breakfast, because there's plenty of days I would walk out and Cal would be there with a bag of Funyuns, and I'm like, is this my real life right now? Like this can't be happening. But they have a very specific diet. You do have to pick your battles. But once we started regularly with the growing up prebiotics from Begin Health, he became open to new things, blueberries. And this is the one that even last night, he had a whole plate of broccoli, steamed broccoli. Yeah.
Wow.
And again, I think it's just something with the tummy being healed, feeling better. It's almost like he was in a war with his gut, and that went away, and he was just more open to putting new things in. And the other thing I want to mention too, and I just want to thank you as a special needs dad. This is brilliant because I know you have like we have the tubs as well.
Yeah, sure.
But the few times that like we have to travel somewhere and like special needs parents, like we have gear, right? It looks like we're going overseas to fight a war because you have to be ready. This is brilliant, Madeline. Like this is brilliant.
On the go.
Oh my gosh.
On the go. Yes.
So anyway, I just want to thank you for that, because this is it really is absolutely helpful. I want to have you back and talk more about how even you formed your company, because there's a lot of special needs parents that look, this is stressful, right? Like the divorce rate is so high. You lose a job like at an unbelievable rate in a special needs family. The cost of raising an autistic kid is over $2.5 million now. And that, by the way, was research pre-inflation. I don't know what it is now.
I can't even imagine now.
Right. And so, but I just want to talk to somebody that you had to start this from basically the ground, and you took something that was personal for you. I'd like to have you back and maybe kind of talk, of course, obviously talk about the awesome growing up prebiotics from Begin Health, but also talk a little bit about your story. And I want to give this community like some drive, like use this, like special needs parents. We have really good skills. We always have to have a backup plan. We have to be ready to roll. You're kind of on guard. Those are some skills that people could use in business or life. It's very easy to kind of get down with this because it's hard. It's very hard. But I kind of like somebody like you. You got great energy. You're optimistic, but at the same time, like you're doing this great research. And I just think it would be great to have you back and talk about that as well.
Sure, Mark. I'd be thrilled to do that. It's always fun to talk about the founding of Begin Health and everything we went through to get to this point. Business and founding company in the midst of COVID as well, like add insult to injury, right? But here we are. And I think that, at the end of the day, what always drives entrepreneurs is just like our endless pursuit of solving problems. Like you see a problem, as an entrepreneur, we see a solution, right? And we are relentless that solution has to exist in the world. And I think that's what is very exciting about entrepreneurship, is that unfortunately the problems are endless, but fortunately we have solutions, and with people who really have that dedication and drive and grit. So I am such a proponent of entrepreneurship, small business owners, and I always would love to chat about that.
For sure. That's a great tease, by the way, for the next. You don't even need me anymore. You just do it yourself. You don't need me. That's a great tease for the next episode. I love it. But thank you again for being here. That's Madeline Lauf, the founder of Begin Health. Again, you can go to dailyautism.com PREbiotics.com and click the Begin Health button. I think you'll save a couple bucks on the Growing Up Prebiotics, which again, I just can't tell you how thrilled we've been at the product, at the results, and honestly, most important, just how happy Cal's gut is in his tummy. And so I thank you, Madeline, for getting involved in this and taking something personal and bringing it to the world, bringing it to the business market, the open market. And so we really appreciate it. Look forward to talking with you again.
Yeah, thanks again, Mark, and take care.